Erskine Arts YouTube channel, that's where you're at. Welcome to the Vinyl Countdown episode. Overdub that. We're not just waving at you. It is supremely warm in the middle of a heat wave.
Again, that's 3 days.
3 times in a row. 3 film, and our luck is just
unbelievable, man.
It is, man. My facial's not grown a single. It's quite good.
It
hasn't grown back.
T-shirts have changed away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just for us, because different
days.
days.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 months apart, whatever it is.
Definitely, I haven't done it the one day. So another 3 albums, 3 artists to talk about today. Again, if you want to check out any of the other playlists, it's up there. I see what you can't actually do anything. Click on Craig's Heat
right here
to check out the rest of the playlist.
The bonus ball.
And we're gonna kick off. Craig's gonna kick us off. Have we got a timer on?
No, let's do that.
Let's do a timer because this is an album particularly special to Craig.
And I don't want.
You'll be able to see how this has went, just about how long this actually is right now. Yeah, Ali got in trouble last time.
Right.
For stopping Kiss Chat.
Right.
Craig, I'll hand it to you, man.
Thanks, Jason.
You're welcome.
Yes, so this is a very special album to me. It is, thanks man, Astro Weeks by Van Morrison. So I've got the timer, so I'm just going to keep an eye on it because I will absolutely talk about this for about an hour.
Yeah, the cows come home.
What I will say before I even begin, I'm just going to kind of hit the bullet points that I think, but this is an album that if you're not wise to it already, it's one that's quite nice to explore on your own. Like the album is itself, it's quite an experience. The whole thing, it's a really special record for a whole load of reasons, not just for the music contained within it. But this was recorded and released in 1968, and Van Morrison recorded in New York. He'd moved over to the States. He had a record deal with Bang Records. For those that don't know, there was a big problem with Bang Records, and he was under contract with them. Really crazy, like this. The period of Van Morrison's life could be a movie at this point. Like there was mobsters and bags of money being given to this mob boss who ran the label. Van Morrison was contractually obliged. I think it was like 30 odd songs. So there's this famous session where it was like something he had over a 12-month period, had to give them 32 or 33 songs or whatever. He just went into the studio in one day and knocked out like 32 songs. Just nonsense, just to fulfil the contract. So when they tied up with Bang Records, Warner Brothers came in, and Van Morrison at this time, it was like Brown Eyed Girls out, so there was obviously a buzz around that tune, and they were quite surprised to see him playing the Astro Week songs round about the clubs. But obviously, if you've heard it, you know how killer it is, so they were pretty keen to snap him up, and they went to the studio really, really quickly. So it was recorded over 3 sessions, Astro Weeks, and there was there was a fourth because they added strings later on. Actually, Van Morrison didn't like them. Afterwards, so it was 3 sessions for actually tracking. So Van Morrison's band that he'd been touring with, Warner Brothers didn't want them involved in the session, so they got just a bunch of really amazing jazz session players.
Always the best of players, the jazzers.
And these were guys who were playing with Charles Mingus. They weren't just jazz session guys. They were
the jazz session guys.
Totally, man. And again, I'm not going into this too deeply because it's really interesting to read about, and you can go online. There's books about it, man. There's a really great book about this period in Boston and New York at that time. But
there's scene going on in Boston.
Yeah, so there's loads of stuff to read about that. I don't want to deprive anyone because it's really a rich period in music and art and culture to get into. But the sessions that they recorded for this, there's some speculation over what it was, whether Van Morrison deliberately behaved like this to cultivate a mood in the studio, or whether it was because he was nervous because of the calibre of musician that he was playing with. But he had very little communication with the session players. He went in, he had a separate, he played acoustic guitar and vocal in the booth on his own, didn't communicate with other players. He played them the song, I'm paraphrasing here, but the session guys are like, he played them once or twice and just told us to improvise. And a lot of it was done first take. The bass playing, particularly in this record, but this album is probably one of two albums that I would say is my favourite album of all time, and depending on the day that I give the answer, it's either Astral Weeks by Van Morrison or Boatman's Call by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. So that is a really super important record to me. But I think this is probably the best bass playing on any album. It's certainly like a pop, a rock pop album. Unbelievable playing. Every player on it's a killer. So yeah, over 3 sessions, they just improvised, and I think the later years when they spoke about the sessions, it was quite liberating that Van Morrison had kind of trusted them so much that they had the freedom to play whatever they wanted to play, and it's it ties in with the album thematically, like how dreamlike the album is, and the playing is really free on it. There's no, doesn't feel like there's any boundaries, and you really get that sense when you're listening. Like, it is an experience, and we spoke about this just the other day in just casual conversation about records, that when you get that kind of 8-9 track album,
I was going to mention it if you didn't. I've got a particular love affair for albums that are like that. So I mean, most of it, even Aerosmith Rocks, I think that's like 10 tracks.
Yeah.
But every one, I hate when you get an album that there's one track that's just not quite as great. So you get an album that every track. I mean, this is an 8 track, and just every one. I've became particularly keen on this album as well since Craig, especially a Slim Slow Slider. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful song.
And it's just that, and I think this feels like this is a concept album feel. I know some people kind of recoil at that, although Music's from the Elder by Kiss, definitely check that out. Amazing concept album. But it has that feel, and the playing kind of ties into that. And the lyrics and the songs that are made, there is this real kind of mystic quality about it, the super poetic, and Van Morrison spoken about that kind of stream of consciousness writing as he was putting the album together. What do you call that? Like, the association? What do you call that? Put the answer in the comments. Don't you just start writing and you don't actually think about what it is, you just let it write. You write whatever it is.
Being possessed?
No.
I don't know.
It's cool anyway. But so a lot of it was like that. Yeah, just leave it down below. A lot of it was like that. And he writes about places back home in Ireland. His experiences in America crop up, but this really, it's just beautiful, man. And like the way that he puts all these things together, and the songs do kind of flow in. Most of it is kind of looking back on past experience, and back to his childhood and things, like in specific places in his life.
Quite nice to do that though. Like, I know that you were saying he's maybe intimidated by the session guys, but quite nice to just focus on your lyrical content, the basic structure of it, and not be worrying about anything else that's going to be on it, and kind of always just giving it out there.
I mean, arguably that's his biggest strength anyway, Van Morrison, because I don't think, I think he's got a cool voice, but he wouldn't top a list of greatest vocalists. He might to you personally.
I mean, I think for me, back,
I really don't think he, and same way he's playing, it's not particularly.
I think
like when you're in a room with the best of jazz session players,
like as a player, he's not going to stand out as a top guy, but I think vocally on another level, like going back to kind of garage blues stuff with them.
His vocals and that are incredible.
Crazy, man.
Yeah,
the solo stuff, I love it. I think he almost stole the show at the band, the last waltz, when Van Morrison came and sang that version of Caravan is insane. How good that is, man. So I think vocally he's a really powerful performer, man.
Stand corrected.
There's something on this record.
The man in the orthopedic shoes.
This record does. His voice is so textured and it's so many things all at once. You really need to listen. You need to listen to the album and get the experience of it.
It really is fantastic.
There is this thing where when Van Morrison talks about this record, I've heard him saying before, he said in an interview that he doesn't really feel like the album belongs to him, or that it's a product of him particularly. Like, it was like he was a conduit for it, and just at that moment, because he hasn't done anything else like that now. There's other, I really like some Van Morrison records, like Moondance is a great record, you know, but it's not Astral Weeks by any stretch, and it's not trying to be either, but this was like just something that happened. It just happened to be his voice and his playing, and the session guys are crucially important. But it doesn't feel like it's his album, you know, and that lends to that mystic quality of it all. You know what I mean? That it is an experience. You know, there's something. There was this ephemeral moment in his career and in music in general. So it's really been well regarded and super influential for loads of bands. You know, Bono. You know, U2. This was a massive thing for. You know, U2. They're an Irish kind of pop band.
I don't know if it.
They're kind of like.
I don't just carry that about.
Bruce Springsteen as well was a big influence on Springsteen. Yeah, a really amazing record, and I think the opening line of the first song, he says, he sings, "If I ventured in the slipstream between the viaducts of your dream."
Sing it then.
And that, imagine, that'd be so amazing. I would just do that, like just
Dead
get a vocal
serious.
solo and just me mouth it and like dub the performance
Jason
over.
could just auto-tune your chant.
It'd be so good, man.
Alright.
And I think that kind of sets the tone for the record. I love that opening line.
Fantastic. Pause this, go listen to it,
Yes.
and join us back. When Craig's finished, pause.
Well, that's me at just about 10 minutes. That was really good.
That was proper good.
The last thing I want to do is to end on a wee quote. Because, check this, right?
Go for it.
So Lester Bangs is one of my favourite rock journalists. I'm really a big fan of Lester Bangs. Wrote for Cream magazine. If you're not wise to Lester Bangs, definitely get him checked out. But he said this of Astral Weeks. Excuse me a moment. Hold on. Let's see. Lester Bangs said of Astral Weeks. Astral Weeks, insofar as it can be pinned down, is a record about people stunned by life, completely overwhelmed, stalled in their skins, their ages and selves, paralysed by the enormity of what in one moment of vision they can comprehend. Maybe what it boiled down to is one moment's knowledge of the miracle of life. I can't think of a more succinct...
I understood about 5% of that.
And I think... Aye,
if
you've not spent some time with that album, I know I say this every time, like, oh, if you've never heard it, totally get it. But like,
that's why we're here. That's why we're not. Well,
I know
from
most
the last
folk.
episode, but we're not talking. We're talking about albums that we think you should be listening to.
I've got a wee Astral Weeks tattoo in here. Wee Astral Weeks tattoo. This wee guy up in here. There he is.
We're getting that. Maybe not. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, me and my friends. It was obviously a big deal for us, so we gifted a tattoo upon one another.
Have they got one as well?
Yeah, we just tattooed it on each other.
Why not?
Really?
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I just presumed you'd got it somewhere proper.
No, it was in my kitchen. Pretty good.
None of Craig's
Yeah.
tattoos are proper.
Well,
No,
Apart from
this one, yeah, they're all...
well, still healing. Sorry, touched it.
That's right, it's actually alright, no, it's good.
Alright.
It's not that, it's only a few hours, it's not, Anyway,
Go listen to it.
yeah, Astral
Really,
Weeks.
we could talk. Well, Craig
That
obviously
could be a
talk
full
about
episode
it all
on its
day.
own.
Maybe it will be. Do you want that?
Oh, I'd love to do like 45 minutes.
Well,
an hour.
in depth with Craig, in deep with Craig.
In the deep.
Or I could do it in too deep, have that as song 41. In too deep,
and I'm trying to keep
Craig
Craig up above of my head.
Instead of going under.
That'd be really cool, we could do that.
But yeah, Craig could talk about that. Craig could talk about this all day, but you really need to go and listen to it. I actually feel like it plays because the album I've just realised you've both chose pretty important albums in music, and I've kind of just chose a real cool rock album. But we'll come to that.
Alright.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
cool.
what it's all
a bit
about.
different.
I don't think any of the episodes have picked similar albums. I
No,
think that's quite cool.
I just close my eyes and go.
That one.
Right, Ali, you're up.
My next.
You're next.
This month,
This month.
episode,
Yeah, this episode, this time.
I've went for Fleetwood Mac, Rumours. Yeah, Jason was saying, what a pivotal record.
Yeah, that's
Um,
important.
Released in 1977. I think it took the band well over a year to record this album. I think they started recording in 95, and was the band's 11th studio record.
Which is crazy. That's some
Unbelievable.
band's career, and
And-
this is probably a lot of people's first venture into Fleetwood Mac.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
talked about bands like trying to figure out that second record. You know, you've got to beat the first record.
How do you beat the 10th?
This is how do you beat the 10th? Well, you come out with Rumours.
Yeah,
by
it's really
Fleetwood
is
Mac.
quite astonishing.
Again, it's got that greatest hits feel to it. You know, every song on it is an absolute killer.
Not a wasted moment.
Recorded at the record plant. Recorded at the record plant in California.
Famous desk.
With a lot of famous bands using that studio at the time. In fact, Chrissy used to commandeer one of the other studios in there that Sly and Family Stone were using at the time, and would sit and write some of the album tracks
That's really
whilst in
cool.
the studio. Mind you, she was there for about a year, so she had plenty of time to write
While
songs.
listening to other bands that were in.
Probably just copied all the.
I just thought it'd be you think that'd be quite distracting?
Probably
Or maybe
not.
it was inspiring.
Aye.
Or maybe the studio was empty and she just wanted this space.
When you see it, it looks like a cool place. The photographs and stuff back in the day. It looks like an amazing
Quite an
place to be,
inspiring
man.
place. Yeah.
And a lot of people say this is Fleetwood Mac's greatest record, and I think
Certainly the biggest.
Lindsay Buckingham wanted this to be a pop record, and
Tick.
I think that there's a bit of a crossover between their more traditional roots and what Lindsay Buckingham wanted to bring to the record.
Yeah, for sure.
But on this album, at this time, 11 albums, the band are
11
going through-
tracks.
11
as well.
bands, 11 tracks.
Mm. 20.
Like you were talking about Van Morrison's record being a bit of a drama time period for him.
Not as much as this, eh?
Drama. I suppose this album would sit alongside, well, an episode of Dallas or something like that, you know.
Well, that's not been on TV in about 20 years.
I remember watching Dallas. My
Good
mum used to
reference.
watch Dallas. It used to be the
Honestly,
thing.
my folks haven't watched it, man.
It's a working class thing.
Aye, maybe, aye,
Yeah.
probably.
The most, out of the three of us, the most middle class upbringing was yours.
I know, that's what I'm making fun of it.
taking-
Oh, right.
taking
I was
a
working
dig,
class time that you never watched
He said
Dallas.
too poor, I don't know.
Too poor
Too
to
poor
afford
telly.
Dallas.
Too poor to watch Dallas.
Right, okay, I'm on your board now.
Yeah, the band were going through a lot of, and the album's called Rumours, down to the fact that there was so much going on with the relationships between the members of the band, Lindsay and Stevie.
Stevie.
They had just split up, and there was rumours that
Big secrets.
they had had a child together. Lucy, was that true? Was that their child?
I don't know.
I don't know.
either,
I
man.
don't even. Who
Let us
knows?
know. Google it.
If you're
Let us
watching,
know.
it's your. If Lindsay's your dad and Stevie's your mom.
Yeah, Lucy, if you're watching,
If you're watching right now, let us know. Do the test.
go on Maury.
Yeah.
Where's Molly?
American talk show.
No, that's it.
You are the father.
That's another. No, Jerry McKay. That's not that.
You're
Who is that?
thinking of Jerry Springer.
Maybe.
Jerry
No,
Springer.
his was just script. That was mental. No, Maury, he was quite known for that. Anyway, it's always got to be a tangent.
What's her other face?
Christine.
The poor singer. Live. Seen them live.
Yeah, but is it recently? Stephen X
I
wasn't
know.
either.
Man, I don't know. I mean, there's a quality to be given, but if we're talking about who's the better singer, that's not that clean cut, man.
I think essentially they all.
Is Lynn's in it?
There was rumours about the relationships that they were having
That's
between
what's this group.
band members. Mick Fleetwood was then supposed to be having a relationship with. Which one?
John.
Christine McVie.
Yeah.
Is it
This is the
McVie or
one,
McVie?
McVeigh.
McVie.
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 Why did we pick bands where the names are all questionable about how you
But it's these
pronounce
bands that
them?
you know and you've just never said the name aloud
Never
before.
said the name.
I'm going to say Christine McVie.
McVeigh.
I'm going to hang on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Because I'm I don't know if I won't say yes in case I'm going to
No,
steal
no,
a bit
you
of
go.
chat for you. But so there was those rumours about Meg and Christine, but the thing I think there's obviously loads of emotional turmoil during this album, and because Christine and John were married and they split up, but they were writing songs with one another, like Lindsay. And I think if you're writing a song that you're going to make your ex-partner sing, like him writing about Stevie and he's writing
putting the knife in,
shacking
innit?
up is all you want to do, and that she was really angry about that. But then Christine wrote "You Make Love and Fun." That's about their lighting engineer, who then she was in a relationship with at that point. So imagine being John, and you're singing a song that your ex-wife is singing, and you're playing it about the guy who's lighting stage on tour, and she's like, "You make love and fun." You'd be like, "Oh, this is awful."
He's off the tour.
And what a terrible time.
With the new lighting guy.
So really intense.
I mean, sometimes the most intense, terrible times make for the best albums.
That's what they said. They were
It's very,
saying,
very rare that
the band were saying that they think that their best work came from their most traumatic time.
loads of bands seem to say that. I mean, and
But look
the
at it,
last
look at the
episode
album,
we
it's an
talked
amazing
about
album.
Eagles, did we? They've never liked each other.
And I suppose 11 albums down the line,
You would hate each other. Imagine being 10 albums in, and then this drops, and the reaction to it.
It's crazy.
There's no way they would have known that this would have been. I mean, obviously, Fleetwood Mac were vastly different in the Peter Green days.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
A totally different band to what you hear now. This is like
I prefer this though.
This is a perfect pop album.
The thing about this
Yeah.
record is that they spent so much time trying to get
It's
sonic
just-
perfection. Like they
it's just amazing.
over a year in the studio, and I think they did stupid stuff like Lindsay restrung his guitar
Every 20 minutes they got it restrung?
Imagine.
I bet the guy just went, "Yeah, I've done it,
Which is
Lindsay. I've restrung it." Apparently, the Edge does that as well.
Really?
Restrings all the time. Where some players I know like older strings on their guitar and they leave it for a while. And there's
Get a
some
dull sound.
player that I've seen the gear review of who gets a guitar strung and leaves it for a while because he likes that deader sound.
Yeah.
Don't ever change
I don't know
your
if I
bass
would
strings
like dead clean strings all the time.
Boil them.
unless you have a Ricky.
Right.
Unless you want clean strings quite a lot of the time.
I mean, that's something we've not spoke about as much in the last couple of episodes. I think it's production, but when we talk about a sonic, it's a big sonic alley here anyway. It talks about a production standpoint of how good an album sounds.
Sonic Hedgehog.
Not very much wrong with this, is there? Especially in Go Your Own Way.
I just love how the whole album sounds. I think
Yeah, it is incredible,
and
isn't it?
the recording of it, like apart from all the drama, that like how that was accommodated, and Stevie Nicks, like she was often in that she had a wee room in the studio that there was no windows. And they all spoke about that studio. They lost track of the time of day. They didn't know if it was day or night because there was no windows there. And Stevie Nicks had her own wee room. You're like, what is it in Gypsy? She sings about it. When she sings Back to the Velvet Underground, this wee room that she had in that studio for
It'll
Rumours,
be
and there's cushions and velvet scarves.
That's they were saying about the room that she used. I think Sly and the Family Stone had another area of the studio that they were using, and they said that they had that all decked out 70s style, and it would have probably been one of their spaces that was all velvet and rich colours and things like that. Yeah, fantastic album. It's one of my favourite Fleetwood Mac records. Fortunately, I got to see them live at the Hydro with the full lineup, and it was out of this world. Absolutely fantastic concert. Great to see the full band for one time only. Really.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't happen
Really?
again.
Not gonna happen again.
No, we're not. Kind of a once in a lifetime kind of thing. Go listen to it. I'm sure you've heard. You probably won't know you've heard most of these, and you probably listen to the album and go, "Oh yeah," if you don't know the album well. Because I mean, track after track, hits.
Rhiannon being one of the biggest selling.
It's pronounced
singers.
Rihanna.
Rihanna.
She's a
What
singer.
did I say?
No, you're joking.
Rihanna?
I was Joe Wine.
Rihanna?
It is
Oh,
Rihanna.
right.
Rihanna's not on.
It's not on that.
Rumours by
Oh, cut that. What did I read? I was reading something.
Oh, she was on her. She's dressed in the
Oh, the
Rihanna
Rihanna
character.
thing, that's right.
That's a great song though.
Do you, any other song you want to
I love Tusk. What?
get wrong?
Doom, ba-doom, doom, 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 doom.
Back in the room. I don't know where we cut that last one. Ali said something mental. I'm joking.
It's not like me.
From two arguably super important albums to one that less or so, but special to me, I guess, just because of the Matt duet.
Yes.
That. Yeah, so as you can see in the second cam, no, I need to sync them up. Joe Perry. Who is that, you ask? You shout. Definitely not a name as synonymous with a band as like Jimmy Page and stuff. He always kind of had a wee bit of left in the shadows, Mr. Big Pez Dispenser. Joe Perry being the guitar player for America's biggest band, Aerosmith, biggest rock band, I think, by sales.
Bigger than Kiss?
Yeah.
Doubt it.
For sure.
Heard it.
Yeah. Much more hits.
Nope.
Well, why is it always when it turns to my turn this happens? I can't have nice things. Yeah, so this is I've forgot the name of the album. That's good enough. I've got the Rock and Rose again. This is this is his second solo excursion. So I thought the interesting thing to talk about here is Joe Perry and Brad Whitford's departure from Aerosmith and how that kind of came about, and subsequently this album and how they got back into Aerosmith. Because when they got back into Aerosmith, that's when Aerosmith changed their sound pretty drastically. You get the 70s and 80s stuff, it's pretty different. So I've got notes here. So on July 28th, not that long past, the year was 1979, at the World Series of Rock in Cleveland, an argument resulted in Perry's wife throwing a glass of milk over Tom Hamilton's wife. Why should you drink a glass of milk? Seems like a weird thing to be choosing to drink, doesn't it?
Where have they done that?
Cleveland in Ohio.
That's one odd thing you do.
So up to this point, up to the end of the 70s, Aerosmith, you might or might not know, were very hard users of drugs, narcotics, and it was kind of coming to a peak towards the end of the 70s. Drug abuse was getting so bad within the band that tensions were really, really fraying, especially between Joe Perry and Steven Tyler, who always were kind of the two main cogs in the band, the main songwriters. Yeah, so after this argument, Joe Perry and Brad Whitford, who's the other guitar player in Aerosmith, split from Aerosmith in the middle of recording Night of the Ruts, which resulted in the rest of the album stand-in guitar players played Perry's parts for the rest of the album. So the album's quite a weird one to listen to, because some of the stuff you hear is Perry and then some of it's not. Same with Brad, some of it's Brad Whitford and then some of it's not. It's quite easy to be able to tell who's who. He's got quite a distinctive play style, Mr. Perry. Yeah, so he went off, and this is his actual second solo album, so he took a lot of material that Aerosmith had that they haven't fleshed out into songs, and he took it for himself and done a solo album called Let the Music Do the Talking, which was the title track of which Aerosmith went and re-recorded when they got back together for their first album when they went back. So they took a lot of material. He met up with some kind of big players in Boston at that time that were touring in different bands. For this album, Ronnie Stewart on drums, David Hull on bass, and Charlie Farren on rhythm guitar and vox. That's vocals.
No difficult surnames in this
No,
record.
I almost struggled with Farren because I was going to say Farren. How you faring in this one? Not too well. Yeah, so they went off and done Let the Music Do the Talking, but this is the better of the two albums. So a few years later, he then done I've Got the Rock and Rose Again. If anyone has played Guitar Hero Aerosmith, they'll recognise one of the tracks in this. It's a track called East Coast, West Coast, and it was in the game. Okay. Which I think a weird fact about the game was that it's made them as much money as their album sales.
That is weird.
It just shows kind of the
power of gaming,
the video game market. And I guess licensing all their songs, and yeah, it made them, and they re-recorded bits of it as well, and motion track and all that stuff as they done with Guitar Hero. Loved that game.
I used to really
Guitar Hero 3 was incredible. Legends of Rock. That's been closed over. Oh. I did write something else, I'm sure. Oh yeah, the producer of this album actually says in there, a guy called Bruce Botnick, who produced the Doors' first album.
Big up to the Botnick.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. He produced the Doors kind of early stuff as well and worked with Joe in this. This is an album not many people will really know, but if you're into just classic rock, great guitar tones, great playing, this is an album to check out. Arguably it doesn't have the hits that Aerosmith kind of had with Sweet Emotion, Dream On, all this kind of stuff, but it kind of really felt like after leaving Aerosmith, Joe Perry really wanted to let loose and I guess flex his muscles a bit as a player.
Yeah.
because during this period Aerosmith had an album called Between a Rock and a Hard Place, the only album that doesn't fully feature Brad Whitford and Joe Perry. It's a stinker of an album, it's really not that good. And you really can, you miss Joe Perry and Brad Whitford's input into the album. It just doesn't have the same soul as they're playing. But the guitar solos on this, if you're into that sort of thing, it really feels like Perry just going a bit wild and being like,
I'll do what
Tyler, this is what you're missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in 1984, Brad Whitford and Joe Perry met up with the rest of the guys from Aerosmith, and they decided to join back again and do stuff. And they were meant to have this big comeback album. They brought some songwriters on to help with it, and that was done with Mirrors.
Oh yeah.
Which wasn't the commercial success they had all wanted. And Perry's actually said it's his most disappointing Aerosmith album, when it's just Push Play, which he absolutely hates, absolutely regrets doing it. I know, really, in the grand scheme. But he's not happy done with Mirrors. But after that, Permanent Vacation, which kind of boosted their career again and kind of gave Aerosmith that second breath. Dude Looks Like a Lady, amazing, all these kind of huge hits. But yeah, that was a little bit about Mr. Perry and kind of what happened there.
See where Noel
Been
Fielding
lucky
gets
enough.
his styling
Man,
from.
I think he looks like someone I know, but I'm not going to say it on YouTube. Because it would be a bit weird if I was talking about the guy.
Who is it?
It doesn't matter.
Oh,
Not bad though.
That's right.
It's Craig when he was young. Jokes, as you wish.
Delicious.
And what I was going to say, yeah, me and Craig's son are lucky enough we're going to go see Aerosmith next year. It might be this year, but obviously COVID happened and we've not been able to see them, so next year we're going to see Aerosmith. I've been lucky enough to see Joe Perry tours in another band called the Hollywood Vampires, which is with Johnny Depp, who's in the middle of a bit of a situation right now as well.
Aye.
And Alice Cooper and a few other people who are great live, just a bit of fun. They done like loads of covers when I went to see them. They brought out another album that's all originals and it's actually quite good. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to see Joe Perry do that. I'm seeing the Hollywood Vampires again next year and Aerosmith. That'll be a night to remember.
Man, I saw Aerosmith like
When you were at the Nine Lives tour.
Yeah, 21 years ago, something like that. Loved it, man. And I can't wait to see them again as an adult in the pre-sequels, like 14 or 15.
You'll definitely have a different eye for it at this moment.
Totally, I'll be more,
and you'll be able to be checking out. What age were you at to see them?
14.
What age is Ben? What age
Ben's
will he be?
14, aye. So
Do you know what I mean? So you'll be able to.
nice.
Do you know, that'll be really
I
special
like
as
that,
well.
you know, sharing that. Like, I haven't seen them since that age.
Three
and that's-
Amigos.
Yeah,
That'd be
good,
really
man.
cool.
Thank
Really
you.
looking forward to that. My favourite rock guitar player ever. Just, I think he's incredible, and one bend of a string or a play of a vibrato and a note's Big Pez.
Pezza.
Perry Mason.
You can tell it's warm in here, we're all lit.
So roasting.
But we are fresh because this is a different day of recording. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hit the like button.
Split.
Have a comment. Make a comment. Subscribe. Check out the rest of the playlist if you so desire to. I think that's a bell. Looks like something else. We're going to end it here. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
And we'll do a wee.
Yeah.